In the next part of this presentation, we will be reviewing some mandatory state and federal requirements that are in place to protect pollinators. We will be talking about voluntary measures later. In Nevada, NAC, Nevada Administrative Code 555.470, requires any pesticide or pest control licensee who intends to apply a pesticide to an agricultural or horticultural crop, this includes nurseries, give at least 24 hours notice to a beekeeper who has given the licensee current information about the location of his or her colony, and the colony is located within 2 miles of the application site. The reasoning behind this is that if a beekeeper gets adequate notice, he or she can take the necessary steps to protect the colony. If the beekeeper does not share current contact or locational information, then the notification is not required. All neonicotinoid pesticide labels have been revised to advise pesticide applicators of specific provisions which are required to protect pollinators. All of these products will have a bee advisory box which contains a bee icon, and this goes on to describe specific requirements. Pesticide labels are legal documents, and the applicator must apply pesticides only in accordance with pesticide label directions. Specifically, under directions for use provisions on the pesticide label, pesticides must not be applied until flowering is complete and all petals have fallen, unless the beekeeper providing pollination services receives 48 hours notification. For food crops and commercially grown ornamentals not under contract for pollination services, the pesticide must not be applied until flowering is complete and all petals have fallen, unless certain conditions are met. These include things such as public health emergencies or imminent crop loss. For non-agricultural products, do not apply, and the brand name of the neonicotinoid product will be inserted here, to plants that are flowering. Only apply after all flower petals have fallen off. Note that there are no exceptions for applications that fall into this category. A proposed EPA regulation would require manufacturers of all highly toxic pesticide products that present a hazard to bees to place this statement in the Directions for Use section on the pesticide label. For foliar applications of this product to sites with bees on site for commercial pollination services, foliar application is prohibited from the onset of flowering until flowering is complete, when bees are on site under contract, unless the application is made in association with a government-declared public health response. Site-specific pollinator protection restrictions may exist in other locations on the pesticide label, or the state may have developed additional restrictions. These rules must also be followed. Beekeepers must select colony locations with low pesticide risk. This may be a site that provides some shelter, such as vegetation coverage, and a site some distance away from an agricultural field. Dropping a few beehives near a forage location that might be treated without notifying the property owner is just asking for trouble. Don't forget to have contact information on the beehives. The information on the beehives must be current, and if notification is coming via email or phone message, they must be checked regularly by the beekeeper. Once a beekeeper selects a location, growers and commercial applicators should be notified and specific information be shared on colony location. If colonies are moved, then the beekeeper must make the effort to notify growers and commercial applicators of the new location and update contact information as necessary. If hives cannot be protected on short notice, then the beekeeper must alert the applicator to the specific location of the colony, and the applicator can then avoid direct spraying of the colony. Beekeepers must use registered pesticide products to control pests in their colonies. In the past, there were no legal pesticide products available for use inside a beehive. Beekeepers, in some instances, unknowingly affected the health of their colonies because of illegal pesticide applications. This problem has been corrected, and beekeepers have no excuse for using illegal or unsafe products. Varroa mite is an example of a pest which is commonly found, and only recently did legal products come on the market. EPA is taking steps to alert beekeepers of these products via the EPA webpage. For the last segment of this program, I would like to talk about voluntary measures for all stakeholders who are interested in protecting pollinators. This would not only include growers, applicators, and beekeepers, but all individuals who have an interest in protecting honeybees and native pollinators. Recently, the Nevada Department of Agriculture completed a voluntary managed pollinator protection plan, or MP3, to accomplish this goal and implement a number of voluntary measures that threaten pollinator health. If you read the first page of this document, you will notice that the plan relies heavily on communication and coordination to minimize risk, but also encourages the adoption of an integrated approach to pest management. Although the scope of the plan addresses managed pollinators, it is generally agreed that any protective measures identified in the plan will also protect other pollinators as well. On page 2 of the MP3, the Nevada Department of Agriculture engaged representatives of different stakeholder groups to help develop the final document. After a number of revisions, the final version was completed in January of 2016. Although the plan includes a brief discussion of regulatory measures currently in place, major provisions are voluntary in nature. The two major components of the plan are outreach to pesticide applicators and registration of managed bee colony locations on the Nevada Department of Agriculture website. However, because of stakeholder input, the plan includes a discussion of protective measures that can be implemented not related to pesticide use. For example, the plan includes links to educational materials produced by a myriad of other agencies which are available to help stakeholders improve pollinator habitat. Although individual stakeholders are identified, organizational alliances were important during the MP3 planning process. In northern Nevada, the NDA worked closely with the Northern Nevada Beekeepers Association, or NNBA. NNBA members include commercial beekeepers and hobbyists, and the organization's participation in the planning process was instrumental for plan development. Industry affiliations were important in developing the plan as well. The National Association of State Departments of Agriculture, or NASDA, helped EPA to develop a template that can be used by state agencies who wish to develop a MP3. The National Pest Management Association has resources available for pesticide applicators, but also has produced some informational brochures to help homeowners make educated decisions about choosing pesticide products and increasing pollinator habitat. We still need to develop performance measures to determine if the MP3 is accomplishing the goal of protecting pollinator health. These measures are needed to gauge our success. If we could identify behavioral changes of our primary stakeholders, beekeepers, applicators, and growers, utilized to protect pollinators, these could be valuable. We could keep track of applicator compliance with pesticide labeling or the number of bee incidents over a period of time. If we demonstrate a reduction, we could show the plan has some benefit. Some measure of colony strength or health might be useful as well. Although not mandatory, an increase in the number of colonies registered on the Nevada Department of Agriculture webpage may be an indication of overall colony health improvement. For most of these measures, we would have to design a survey tool. The voluntary registration site, which is up and running on the Nevada Department of Agriculture website, gives beekeepers an opportunity to register their bee locations and allows them some confidentiality in that only licensed pest control applicators can access the information. Beekeepers can submit this form to NDA, and NDA can enter the information. Or, for colony registration, a beekeeper can enter data themselves with a legal description, address, and the beekeeper's contact information. Since this is a voluntary measure, it is not likely that all the managed colony locations will be identified. Registration has been simplified in that there is a mapping function so that the applicators can identify the location of their colonies by using a computer, and the legal description will be generated. Beekeepers must make changes to their locations on the mapping program as soon as colony locations change. Once a colony location is registered, the pesticide applicator then has the responsibility to visit the web page and find out if there are any managed colonies within 2 miles of an application site. Contact information can easily be found once the location has been identified. I mentioned that the Pollinator Protection Plan identifies resources where stakeholders can take additional steps to protect pollinators. Here is a publication developed by the University of Nevada Cooperative Extension about using native flowers that attract pollinators. There has been a lot of work done by other agencies related to pollinator protection. Here is a bulletin developed by the Xerces Society on protecting native bumblebee populations. As I stated earlier, although the MP3 scope is to protect managed pollinators, any steps we take to protect managed pollinators will also help to protect native pollinators as well. This quarterly publication describes construction of a native bee housing box and discusses how to properly site the box once it is constructed. The information was developed by the Maryland Department of Agriculture and appeared in a quarterly newsletter of Beyond Pesticides. Last but not least, I have included a page from the University of Georgia which describes a course of study for beekeepers who want to improve their colony management practices. Most beekeepers in the business today have less than 10 years of experience in the business, and it is generally accepted that information such as this could be valuable to new beekeepers who are just entering the business. The North American Pollinator Protection Campaign, or NAPPC, is a collaborative body of over 140 organizations that work for the protection of pollinators across Mexico, Canada, and the United States. The NAPPC Task Force created this brochure designed for educators who would like to help students understand pollinator issues. The brochure also describes steps that can be taken by school administrators and teachers to protect pollinators. So with that, I would like to end my presentation. I appreciate your attention and look forward to speaking with you in the future. You are now required to complete a short quiz to receive credit for this course. You are required to score 70% or higher, which you will have no problem achieving if you viewed the entire presentation. I wish you luck and hope you enjoy the rest of your day.